Chapter 207. Colluding on their story. In the dark and slippery jungle, several instructors were rushing forward, their eyes fixed on the direction where the rumbling sound had come from, their faces filled with gravity. What just fell from the sky? Instructor Zhang asked with furrowed brows as he ran. Instructor Hanli shook his head. Don't know, but it looked massive. Must be some kind of mystery. A mystery that big? Must be at least sea level, right? Didn't you hear what the commander said in the communication? The massive earthquake inside Jinan Mountain earlier might have been caused by the Earth Dragon. Could what fell be the Earth Dragon? That's impossible. Earth dragons live underground. How could it fly into the sky? And with a body that size, if it really flew up, someone would have definitely seen it. Instructor Zhang firmly shook his head. Instructor Hanli took a deep breath. Whatever it is, we need to be careful. The commander and others are trying to rescue the #1 rescue team trapped in the absolute Earth domain. We just need to quickly figure out what fell from the sky. And the commander mentioned, there are ancient god church people in this mountain. The instructors fell silent, quietly increasing their pace as they ran toward where the heavy object had fallen. After some time, Instructor Hanli seemed to sense something and suddenly stopped, turning to look at a spot in the forest. Seeing this, the other instructors also stopped. What did you find? Han Li's brows furrowed as he quickly walked into the forest beside them. The other instructors exchanged glances and instinctively followed. Pushing aside the scattered branches, they soon came to a clearing. In the dim forest, they saw a youth wearing a military coat lying in the mud, with a blood-stained straight sword stuck in the ground beside him. Lin Chia. The instructors were shocked at the sight. Instructor Hanli quickly went forward and, after confirming Lin Chia was only unconscious, breathed a sigh of relief. He turned and carried the unconscious Lin Chia on his back, picking up the straight sword from the ground and returning it to its scabbard. How did he end up here? I thought he was caught in the absolute Earth domain, too. Instructor Zhang also sighed in relief seeing Lin Chia was unharmed. Looks like he got lucky and just missed the range of the Earth Dragon's movement. Instructor Han looked at the blood dripping from the sword onto the ground. However, he must have been through a fierce battle and won. As expected of this year's top recruit, impressive. Instructor Zhang grinned, then asked puzzledly, but where's his enemy's corpse? Did they not die? That's impossible. The ancient god church people wouldn't have let him go. Instructor Han shook his head. Don't know, but let's keep moving forward. Everything will become clear once he wakes up. The instructors didn't waste time and ran quickly forward. Soon they arrived at where the flame-vein Earth Dragon had fallen. Looking at the huge headless dragon corpse before them, all the instructors gaped in shock, their eyes full of disbelief. So it really was the Earth Dragon? But how did it fly into the sky? And it must have been at least sea level in strength. Even the commander might not be able to kill it in a one-on-one fight. Who in Songnan City has the ability to kill an Earth Dragon and dump its body in Jinan Mountain? While everyone was puzzled, Instructor Han froze and instinctively looked back at the unconscious Lin Chia on his back. Damn, it couldn't be. Underground. Riding the golden sword shadow transformed by Yao Guang, the three people slowly ascending remained silent. Bai Li Pangpang looked up at the seemingly endless rock layers and worriedly spoke. Will 7 be okay? Instructor Hong was silent for a moment. Don't know, but judging from the power he just displayed, he should be fine. How did he do it? Shin Qingzhu couldn't figure it out. There are several ways to temporarily ignite potential and increase one's level. The Night Watchman's emblem is one such method, but I've never heard of anyone jumping straight to sea level like he did. Moreover, when he made his move earlier, I seemed to sense the presence of a god. God. Bai Li Pangpang's eyes widened. Was it the god that 7 represents helping him? Don't know, but without a doubt the secrets Lin Chia carries might far exceed our imagination. Instructor Hong shook his head. Hearing this, all three fell silent. After a long while, Bai Li Pangpang tentatively spoke up. Instructor Hong, I think after we get out this matter, better not mention it. Instructor Hong calmly finished Bai Li Pangpang's sentence. Everyone has their secrets and opportunities, that's normal. Although the Night Watchmen are an open-minded organization when it comes to matters involving gods, they handle things very cautiously, even radically. If they learn that Lin Chia has some secret connection with gods, They will definitely temporarily deprive him of his freedom, transfer him to Beijing for questioning and investigation, until everything is completely cleared up and they confirm he has no connection to those high-risk gods or forbidden objects, and that there are no other risks before letting him go. Instructor Hong calmly said, Lin Chier is a good seedling both in character and potential. He's not a bad person, we know this best in our hearts. There's no need to jeopardize his future over this small matter. Hearing Instructor Hong's words, Bai Li Pangpang finally breathed a sigh of relief and grinned. I thought Instructor Hong would report Lin Chia's situation directly to the night watchman. Looks like I was being too suspicious. Humph, in you youngsters' eyes, are we really that rigid? Instructor Hong said irritably. Bai Li Pangpang seemed to think of something and turned to the silent Shin Qingzhu. Cool bro, don't let anything slip. Relax, my mouth is tighter than a dead man's, Shin Qingzhu said flatly. In that case, I think we need to get our stories straight. Bai Li Pangpang thought for a moment before continuing. After the three finished their discussion, Bai Li Pangpang let out a breath and looked up at the ceiling above, speaking helplessly. Why aren't we at the surface yet? At this thing's speed we should be about halfway there. It'll take a few more minutes to reach the top. Instructor Hong had been calculating the distance and spoke calmly. Bai Li Pangpang shrugged, about to say something, when the rock wall beside him suddenly exploded. A blurry black shadow burst out from the rock wall, striking Bai Li Pangpang like lightning. Its speed was too fast and coming directly through the rock wall, no one had time to react. Bai Li Pangpang was hit by the black shadow, violently spitting out blood as he slammed heavily into the opposite rock wall with a grunt. The golden sword shadow beneath the three's feet instantly dissipated without a trace. Chapter 208. Night Watchman Shin Qingzhe. Instructor Hong's pupils suddenly contracted as he quickly reached out to grab Bai Li Pangpang, who was about to fall into the tunnel. With his other hand he drew his sword and thrust it hard into the nearby rock wall to stop their descent. Shin Qingzhe also drew his sword and stabbed it into the rock wall, but his body was too weak. The blade only penetrated a third of the way, and his whole body tilted downward, seeming unlikely to hold for long. Ma Yitian, who was covered in blood with one arm severed, stood vertically on the rock wall, coldly smiling at the three of them before suddenly freezing. Where was that boy? He looked up and down again, confirming there was no sign of Lin Chier in the tunnel, his heart filled with confusion. Before the fire vein earth dragon spat its fireball, he had used his ability to leave the cave, flying forward underground for a long while. When he realized the explosion hadn't occurred, he puzzledly turned back and flew back into the cave. That's when he discovered that both the fire vein earth dragon and everyone else were gone. Confused, he didn't know what had happened here, but he quickly noticed a new tunnel that had appeared above and guessed they must have used it to head toward the surface. He rapidly pursued upward, trying to hunt down Lin Chier. But when he arrived here he found Lin Chier wasn't present at all, leaving him completely bewildered. Shin Qingzhe frowned and was about to speak when Bai Li Pangpang's eyes shifted and he quickly spoke first. 7 nights, he's dead. Dead. Ma Yitian was stunned. How did he die? The fire vein earth dragon knocked him into the lava. He was burned to death. Bai Li Pangpang stared intently at Ma Yitian, speaking with 7 parts grief and 3 parts sorrow. What did Lin Chier do wrong? Why did you have to kill him? Damn it, damn it. Seeing Bai Li Pangpang's sudden outburst, Instructor Hong was first stunned, then played along by glaring at Ma Yitian with a fierce expression, as if wanting to cut him into 1,000 pieces. Ma Yitian raised an eyebrow. Then how did you survive? Why didn't the fire vein earth dragon kill you? And what's with this tunnel? Bai Li Pangpang. Actually, the fire vein earth dragon thought we looked friendly, so it let us go and even opened a path for us to return. Bai Li Pangpang said with a straight face. Ma Yitian stared at Bai Li Pangpang before breaking into a cold laugh. You think I would believe such nonsense? As his words fell, half his body transformed into black light and merged into the rock wall beneath his feet. Immediately after, the surrounding rock walls seemed to come alive, surging wildly. Dozens of solid rock spikes suddenly burst forth, stabbing directly at the three of them. However, when he attacked, he deliberately avoided the vital points of Shin Qingzhe and Bai Li Pangpang, while truly attempting to kill Instructor Hong. I lost one divine agent proxy. Even if I return alive, there won't be a good outcome. But if I can bring back the young master of the Bai Li family and that genius, perhaps I can still make up for it. Ma Yitian's face was filled with madness. The sharp rock spikes appeared very suddenly and in very tricky positions. Even though the exhausted Shin Qingzhe tried his best to dodge, 2 spikes still pierced his right leg. The intense pain made his face deathly pale, but he kept biting his teeth, not making a sound. As for Bailey Pang Pang, who was being held by Instructor Hong, just as the spikes were about to pierce his body, a tremendous force transmitted through his arm. Instructor Hong's body flickered with blue light, and like Spider-Man he pulled Bailey Pang Pang back and forth between the 2 wall surfaces, narrowly avoiding most of the spikes. Only a few spikes that Instructor Hong couldn't dodge in time grazed his cheeks, leaving several deep bloody gashes. You need to lose weight. Instructor Hong was struggling to pull along someone weighing nearly 200 jin, making his movements much slower as he jumped between the vertical wall surfaces. Bailey Pong Pong's face reddened, but he wasn't idle. He reached into his pocket and pulled out 1 to 3,000, sending a rain of sword light flying toward Ma Yitian with a swing. With half his body merged into the rock wall, Ma Yitian gave a cold laugh. Hundreds of rock spikes burst forth in front of him, precisely blocking all the sword shadows while completely sealing off their upward path. My forbidden domain allows me to merge with the surrounding environment. In this extreme environment you can't defeat me. Ma Yitian's body sank further into the rock wall. The originally circular tunnel suddenly constricted, while spike after spike burst forth, as if wanting to impale the 3 of them alive in this narrow space. Instructor Hong narrowed his eyes and calmly said, "He was already seriously injured before. Now he's just putting up a last struggle. If we attack with full force, we might still be able to defeat him." Bailey Pang Pang and Shin Qingzhe nodded simultaneously, their gazes more serious than ever before. At this moment it was truly a matter of life and death. This narrow tunnel was destined to see only one side survive. TSK. Shin Qingzhe's sword tilted even more and he was almost falling into the tunnel. Without any panic, he gently raised his other hand and snapped his fingers hard toward the top. Boom! A violent explosion erupted in the narrow space, shattering the numerous rock spikes above their heads. The scorching heat wave nearly roasted Instructor Hong and Bailey Pang Pang alive, but they didn't hesitate at all, seizing the opportunity to strike. Instructor Hong's body blazed with blue light. He first threw Bailey Pang Pang upward with force, while he himself nimbly bounced between the 2 rock walls, moving upward like lightning. Bailey Pang Pang took a deep breath, took out a black ring from his pocket, and black light surged to form a blade which he gripped and swung at Ma Yitian. Soul-breaking blade. Ma Yitian grinned maliciously, the rock wall beneath him violently churning to form a giant hammer that smashed toward the black soul-breaking blade. The corners of Bailey Pong Pong's mouth curved slightly upward. The next moment, the giant hammer passed through the soul-breaking blade as if it were nothing, heavily striking Bailey Pang Pang. At the same time, the soul-breaking blade passed through all the rock formations in front of Ma Yitian, leaving a deep sword mark on his chest. The soul-breaking blade only harmed the soul, ignoring physical defenses. Struck by the giant hammer, Bailey Pang Pang violently coughed up blood and was smashed into the rock wall behind him, the huge impact immediately knocking him unconscious. With such a disparity in combat strength, Bailey Pang Pang could only use this mutual destruction strategy to create an opportunity for Instructor Hong. Ah! Ma Yitian, his soul wounded, turned pale. The pain from his soul filled his mind, making his consciousness blur as he howled in agony. At this moment, Instructor Hong's figure flashed in front of Ma Yitian, his eyes wide with fury, his body blazing with blue light as his fists rained down like raindrops. Boom! Ma Yitian's body was beaten into the rock wall, his mind dazed. Instructor Hong didn't stop, prying him out of the rock wall and delivering a heavy uppercut. Then he pulled his sword from the rock wall, leaped up and stabbed it into Ma Yitian's chest like lightning. Finally, another heavy punch. Boom! Covered in wounds with his chest pierced, Ma Yitian sprayed blood as his body was punched straight down the tunnel by this blow, falling into what seemed like an endless shaft. Down there were rolling lava and flames. After completing this series of lightning-fast moves, Instructor Hong's figure quickly bounced between the 2 wall surfaces, grabbing both the unconscious falling Bailey Pang Pang and the nearly sliding Shin Qingzhe. With one person on each shoulder, Instructor Hong gritted his teeth, took a deep breath, and used all his strength to bounce between the walls in a Z pattern, quickly moving up toward the top of the tunnel. Without Bailey Pong Pong's elevator, he could only use this most basic method, but carrying 2 people made it very difficult even with Instructor Hong's enhanced elasticity. But he had no choice. These 2 were both his soldiers and he couldn't lose either one. Carrying the 2 on his shoulders, Instructor Hong continued moving upward by bouncing for over 2 minutes, his muscles aching terribly while the blue light flickering around his body grew increasingly faint. How far was it to the surface? Instructor Hong didn't know. Since he started bouncing while carrying 2 people, his energy didn't allow him to spare attention to calculate the distance. He put everything into his feet. Jump. Keep jumping. Can't stop. If he stopped, all 3 of them would die. Just then, in the seemingly endless dark tunnel below their feet, a glimmer of firelight appeared. Heat waves rushed up from below, causing both Instructor Hong and Shin Qingzhe to freeze and look down. In the pitch-black deep tunnel, a surging fire tornado rose like an erupting volcano, filling the narrow rock walls and rushing upward at an alarming speed. Wherever it passed, the surrounding rock walls seemed to melt and collapse into the bottomless cave. Like a roaring fire dragon opening its fierce jaws, wanting to swallow everything. But they all knew it wasn't a fire dragon because at the top of those flames was a familiar face. It was Ma Etienne's face. Die, 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 die. If I'm going to die, I'm taking all of you with me. The fiery face of Ma Etienne only had half remaining, but it was still incredibly fierce as he stared fixedly at the 3 above, his eyes full of madness and hatred. How is this possible? Shin Qingzhe's eyes were full of disbelief. His heart had been pierced, how could he still be alive? Instructor Hong's expression turned grim as he said in a deep voice. His mental energy waves are completely chaotic. He must have taken some kind of drug to forcibly extend his life. This mad dog. Instructor Hong's legs trembled slightly from fatigue. Looking at the rapidly approaching fire tornado below and the quickly collapsing rock walls, his heart sank completely. Ma Etienne was determined to take them down with him. Even if Shin Qingzhe could extinguish these flames, he couldn't handle the extremely high-temperature lava they contained. This lava would melt the surrounding rock walls, causing the tunnel to collapse. Without footholds, the 3 of them could only fall back into the cave and perish in the lava. Now there was only one way. Before the berserk fire tornado reached their section of the tunnel, they had to kill Ma Etienne first, letting the flames and lava he had merged with fall back into the cave. Instructor Hong looked at the increasingly close fire tornado below, his heart already made up. He pulled out his sword from his waist and deeply embedded it into the rock wall. Then he pulled out Shin Qingzhe's sword and similarly thrust it into the rock wall. The 2 swords created a foothold on this completely vertical rock wall. Lin Chie's black light that pierced through to the surface was very obvious. The other instructors will surely arrive quickly to rescue us. You stay here with Bailey Tumming, 2 swords should be enough to support both your bodies. Instructor Hong placed Bailey Pong Pong's body on the 2 swords deeply embedded in the rock wall and calmly said to Shin Qingzhe. Shin Qingzhe frowned. What are you planning to do? An instructor should do what an instructor must do. Hong instructor replied calmly. Shin Qingzhe narrowed his eyes without speaking. Instructor Hong took a deep breath as if thinking of something, his lips curled slightly upward. No need for sadness or guilt. For us instructors, dying with dignity in front of our own soldiers is the best end. Instructor Hong slowly closed his eyes and reached for his chest. Being interrupted earlier by that kid Lin Chia was a bit annoying. After all, it's rare to have a chance to be cool. But unexpectedly, a second chance came so quickly. So it's a bit regrettable. Instructor Hong sighed in his heart. Suddenly he froze in place. His hand searched his chest and after a moment he looked down in confusion. Where's my insignia? Instructor Hong was dumbfounded. He clearly remembered putting the insignia in his clothes' inner layer. The corners of Shin Qingzhu's mouth turned slightly upward. He gently bent down and took off the black ring from the unconscious Bailey Pong Pong's hand. Then leaped off the straight blade. The fierce downward wind mixed with heat waves made his blood-stained black military coat flutter. In his right hand a familiar insignia gleamed brightly. When Instructor Hong saw this, his pupils suddenly contracted. When did he? Suddenly, his body trembled as he recalled when Shin Qingzhu's hand had brushed past him while he was using his blade as a support on the rock wall. Instructor Hong stared wide-eyed in disbelief at the figure falling into the fire tornado. The hot wind blew through Shin Qingzhu's hair. Looking at the increasingly bright flames before him, he slowly closed his eyes and spoke calmly. I said I didn't want to see anyone else sacrifice themselves today. Hong Hao, I never liked you, not since entering the camp, but I have to admit, you're a good instructor. Good people shouldn't die. Clang. With a light sound, a thin silver needle ejected from the side of the insignia. Shin Qingzhu gripped it tightly and forcefully stabbed it into his own body. Then his aura began to surge wildly. Pool realm, peak pool realm, river realm, peak river realm. His fingers lightly stroked the surface of the black ring. Under the infusion of his peak river realm's spiritual power, a huge black soul-breaking blade over 2 meters long appeared in his hand. The soul-breaking blade, he had used it before, borrowed from that fat guy. He had told him that if they couldn't eliminate the entire believers, he would have his ashes sunk into the sea. Damn it, he said that was if he made it out alive this time. That fat idiot wouldn't forget and dig up his corpse to scatter the ashes in the sea, would he? If so, his ghost wouldn't let him off. Oh, forgot. Unless something unexpected happens, there probably won't be a corpse left this time. As Shin Qingzhu watched the fire tornado with Ma Yitian's face draw closer, he smiled self-mockingly. Well, being buried in the same mountain as his brother doesn't seem too bad either. In the howling wind and flames, Shin Qingzhu raised the soul-breaking blade high in his hand, and swung down with all his might. The black blade instantly split the flaming face in two. Under Ma Yitian's expression of extreme pain and hatred, his final soul form was completely destroyed, his face disappearing within the flames. Soul and body both destroyed. That figure in the black military coat also fell into the surging flames. Shin Qingzhu. Instructor Hong roared with red eyes toward below. You defied me in training. You defied me in assessments. Now when it's my turn for a heroic sacrifice, you still have to steal the show from me. How did I train such a rebellious soldier? Fuck. Instructor Hong's voice was loud, echoing through the narrow passage like rolling thunder. But Shin Qingzhu could no longer hear it. Endless flames licked at his body. Everything around him seemed to fade into deathly silence, with only the pain searing his body. Seems like someone's cursing at me. Damn, who dares? If I get the chance, I'll definitely give you a good beating. But probably won't have that chance anymore. The believers haven't been eliminated and I never became a true powerhouse. What's the Night Watchman team in Beijing like? Are they ridiculously strong? Come to think of it, I didn't even make it to the Night Watchman's oath ceremony. After all this, turns out I'm not even a Night Watchman. These regrets can only remain regrets. Damn it, at least die with dignity in the way of a Night Watchman. Wonder if my oath counts? In the raging fire, the charred Shin Qingzhu suddenly opened his eyes and smiled. Almost forgot I'm Shin Qingzhu. What fucking rules? If I say it counts, then it counts. In the endless red flames, he opened his dark, cracked lips and silently roared. I, Shin Qingzhu, swear under the red flag of Great Xia. He tightly gripped the insignia in his hand. Even though his palm was half carbonized, he showed no sign of letting go. The flames licked at the shining words on the back of the insignia, glowing brilliantly. If darkness falls. In the passage, the flames continued to spread. Even though Ma Yitian was dead, the surging flames still rushed toward the narrow passage under inertia. Instructor Hong released his palm covered in bloody fingernail marks, gritted his teeth and carried the unconscious Bailey Pang Pang as he jumped upward. I shall stand before tens of thousands. Instructor Hong lifted his aching legs again and again, bouncing between the rock walls on both sides. The surging flames below moved extremely fast. Even though he was using all his strength, the distance between them was still shrinking. His body was trembling, but he absolutely could not stop moving. He had already watched one of his soldiers die before his eyes, the other one must not die. Blade toward the abyss. The surging flames were now only a meter away from Instructor Hong's figure. The dancing tongues of flame almost touched their bodies. Instructor Hong didn't look down, but stared fixedly at the hole above, his whole body's veins bulging. In the flames falling into the cave, the no longer human-shaped Shin Qingzhu slowly closed his eyes. His hand gripping the insignia completely lost feeling and slowly opened. Blood stains the sky. Boom. A sudden resonance rang out through the entire underground world. In that instant, all the air in the cave and passage was sucked away, and all the flames vanished instantly. In this vacuum world, Shin Qingzhu's carbonized body fell heavily to the ground. The melted and collapsed rocks fell like rain from the sky. Rumble. With the resonating sound, the entire underground cave was completely buried, and everything returned to silence. In the dark, silent world, only a thin jade piece glowed with faint light. He gripped the insignia tightly in his hand. Even though his palm was mostly carbonized, he showed no sign of letting go. The flames licked at the shining words on the back of the insignia, glowing brilliantly. If darkness falls. In the passage, the flames continued to spread. Even though Ma Etian was dead, the surging flames still rushed toward the narrow passage under inertia. Instructor Hong released his palm covered in bloody fingernail marks, gritted his teeth and carried the unconscious Bailey Pang Pang as he jumped upward. I shall stand before tens of thousands. Instructor Hong lifted his aching legs again and again, bouncing between the rock walls on both sides. The surging flames below moved extremely fast. Even though he was using all his strength, the distance between them was still shrinking. His body was trembling, but he absolutely could not stop moving. He had already watched one of his soldiers die before his eyes. The other one must not die. Blade toward the abyss. The surging flames were now only a meter away from Instructor Hong's figure. The dancing tongues of flame almost touched their bodies. Instructor Hong didn't look down, but stared fixedly at the hole above, his whole body's veins bulging. In the flames falling into the cave, the no longer human-shaped Shin Qingzhu slowly closed his eyes. His hand gripping the insignia completely lost feeling and slowly opened. Blood stains the sky. Boom. A sudden resonance rang out through the entire underground world. In that instant, all the air in the cave and passage was sucked away, and all the flames vanished instantly. In this vacuum world, Shin Qingzhu's carbonized body fell heavily to the ground, while melted and collapsed rocks rained down from above. Rumble. With the resonating sound, the entire underground cave was completely buried, and everything returned to silence. In the dark, silent world, only a thin jade piece glowed with faint light. Chapter 209, The Believer. Sweat dripped down Instructor Hong's face. Just as the flames were about to engulf them both, the fire behind them suddenly vanished. A brief feeling of suffocation enveloped Instructor Hong's body, but it lasted less than a second before completely disappearing, as if it had never existed. Only the lingering heat in the air proved that an underground inferno had once raged here. Shin Qingzhu. Instructor Hong gritted his teeth, moving upward through the passage bit by bit. After what seemed like an eternity, a faint light appeared above his head. It was the beam of a flashlight. There's someone down there. It looks like Hong Hao, voices called faintly from above. The flashlight beams converged on Instructor Hong as figures rapidly descended, instructors with rappelling ropes attached to their waists. Seeing those familiar faces, Instructor Hong finally breathed a sigh of relief. His tense body could no longer hold on, sweat dripping like a waterfall from his soaked uniform. The instructors quickly took the unconscious Bailey Pang Pang, equipped them both with rappelling gear, said something into their radios and slowly began ascending. Instructor Hong, are you all right? Han Li checked Instructor Hong's condition anxiously as they ascended. Instructor Hong, his consciousness hazy, waved his hand. I'm fine, just exhausted, but there's still someone down there. Hearing this, Han Li exchanged glances with two other instructors. They nodded and continued descending to search for the last person. How far are we from the surface? Instructor Hong asked weakly. 200 meters. Another 200 meters and we'll reach the surface. Han Li looked down at the bottomless cave. How deep is this place? 2 kilometers. 2 kilometers? Han Li's eyes widened in disbelief. How did you manage to climb up? Instructor Hong shook his head, indicating he didn't want to talk. Han Li seemed to realize something and stared up at the sky in silence. Their equipment wasn't sufficient for descending 2 kilometers. However, he didn't share this observation with Instructor Hong. Soon after, Instructor Hong and Bailey Pang Pang were brought back to the surface and immediately placed on stretchers, carried out of the mountain by medical personnel. Later, outside Jinan Mountain, Yuan Gang silently watched as Bailey Pang Pang and Instructor Hong were loaded into ambulances, which drove away with wailing sirens. The vehicle carrying Lin Chia had departed 10 minutes earlier. "Sir, the team searching for Xin Qingzhu has returned." Han Li ran to his side and reported. "Our rappelling equipment only reached 1 kilometer down." Then 2 instructors took the risk of using tools to descend to the cave bottom. But what? Yuan Gang's brows furrowed slightly. The cave created by the absolute Earth domain has completely collapsed. Everything is buried under rock and soil. They couldn't find Xin Qingzhu anywhere. And according to the life detection equipment, there are no life signs in the underground cave. Han Li took a deep breath. Based on Instructor Hong's description of events, Xin Qingzhu can be confirmed as having sacrificed himself. Yuan Gang's fists clenched tightly. He looked back at Jinan Mountain shrouded in darkness and after a long moment slowly said, "Let's withdraw, leave the rest to the cleanup crew." The night gradually receded. In the deathly silent Jinan Mountain, a faint light penetrated the dark clouds, shining upon the stretching desolate peaks. The heavy rain gradually lessened to a drizzle, dropping onto the disaster-struck mountain and falling to the ground through verdant leaves. Time flowed on. The dark clouds dispersed as the sun blazed high. As the sun slowly sank into the western mountains, the twilight dusk fell between the peaks, seeming to drape everything in a thin golden veil. In a desolate wasteland, a cocoon buried in the soil trembled slightly, as if a new life was about to emerge. From the west, a bewitching figure slowly emerged from nothingness. Long hair, phoenix eyes, tailcoat, noble and elegant. He was one of the 3 gods of the ancient god church Klein Boundary. Murmur. The projection's aura disappeared underground here. Murmur looked down at the soil, his gaze seeming to penetrate the thick earth. The projection's soul was destroyed in a very strange way. And since then my mind. Murmur's brows furrowed tightly. He shook his head without finishing. What exactly happened, Patrick? Let's go catch jellyfish. Murmur's words cut off halfway as his entire face twisted violently. Sharp, eerie sounds emerged from his throat as his arms suddenly spread wide, an exaggerated smile appearing on his face. Flap. A crisp sound rang out as Murmur slapped his own face. He lowered his head, breathing heavily, his neck red and his eyes full of anger and confusion. "Damn it! What's happening to me?" He roared in frustration, clutching his head as if trying to rip something out. After a few minutes he finally calmed down. The previous panic and rage had vanished, replaced by coolness and composure. "Whatever you are, I will strangle you. I won't let you torment my soul anymore." Murmur frowned as he muttered. Everything started when that projection vanished. Something must have happened here. He reached out and placed his palm on the ground, slowly closing his eyes. The state underground, a flame vein dragon? There was actually a flame vein dragon here. Ma Yitian, that waste is indeed dead. And also, Murmur started, opening his eyes with a hint of confusion. After hesitating for a moment he reached out and grabbed at the air, seeming to extract something from underground. The next moment, a charred body appeared before his eyes. The body had been burned beyond recognition by flames, showing no signs of life. One leg had been completely carbonized to ash, and even the facial features were unrecognizable. Burned like this, yet still breathing? Surprise appeared on Murmur's face as he carefully examined the body before him, his eyes glowing slightly. Good potential, a promising seed. His lips curved upward as he looked down at the unrecognizable Xin Qingzhu and spoke slowly. "I know you can still hear me. Your talent is impressive and surviving such injuries is miraculous. I've decided to give you a chance." Murmur leaned close to Xin Qingzhu's ear and said each word distinctly. "A chance to abandon your past and be reborn. I can heal all your injuries completely. I can help you become stronger faster. All I ask is that you believe in me, become my believer." Chapter 210 Growth. When he heard the word believer, the body before him trembled almost imperceptibly. "Who you were before, what you've done. I don't care about any of that because it's meaningless to me. In this world no one can betray me." Murmur's voice was magnetic, his calm tone full of confidence. "Will you die here miserably or follow me and begin a new life? Tell me your answer." Murmur's eyes narrowed slightly. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. The body lay motionless as if truly dead. Just as Murmur was about to lose patience, the charred body stirred, shedding flakes of burnt flesh. His lips trembled slightly, releasing an extremely faint sound. Yes. His voice was tiny and weak, but Murmur heard it. A smile bloomed on Murmur's face as he stood up. The surrounding environment began to twist strangely, bizarre scenes radiating from around him. Everything wavered between reality and dreams. This was the Klein Boundaries Divine Realm, Sequence 018. Dream Divergence. In this seemingly non-existent world, the charred body slowly floated up. Misty, flickering light surged over his body. The charred flesh began to revive, the severed right leg started to regrow, and the dying organs began to regenerate. Itching and pain, as if someone was cutting away all the dead flesh with a knife and forcibly inserting fresh muscle tissue. Even enduring such torture comparable to severe punishment, he still clenched his teeth without making a sound. Time passed slowly. As the ethereal light dispersed, a fresh new body had been born. Shin Qingzhu, restored to his original form, slowly descended to the ground. His eyes narrowed as he gazed at the bewitching man before him, his thoughts unknown. Murmur waved away the divine realm and smiled at Shin Qingzhu, speaking with some surprise. I thought your first act after recovering would be to attack me. I can't beat you, Shin Qingzhu said calmly. Then do you want to try running? You might succeed in escaping. No, Shin Qingzhu shook his head. I won't run. I want to join the believers. This time Murmur was truly surprised. He carefully examined Shin Qingzhu for a moment before nodding with a smile. Good, very good. I can sense that in the future you'll definitely have a place among the top ranks of the believers. He extended his right hand, a faint orb of light appearing at his fingertip. The orb left his finger and floated to Shin Qingzhu's brow. This is the believer's soul contract created by me personally. Anyone below God level will be branded by it in their soul, truly becoming my believer. But don't worry. You're a promising seed. I won't interfere too much with your thoughts. As long as you don't rebel, I won't use it to constrain you. Shin Qingzhu stared at the orb before him without any hesitation in his eyes. He grabbed the orb and pressed it into his brow. White light enveloped his entire being. Seeing Shin Qingzhu's decisive action, Murmur raised his eyebrows in surprise, his admiration increasing further. As the light dispersed, Shin Qingzhu stepped forward, his body slightly bowed, right hand placed on his chest and spoke calmly. Believer Shin Qingzhu will forever follow in your footsteps. A satisfied smile appeared on Murmur's face. He greatly enjoyed this feeling. Very good, rise. Murmur lifted his head to look at the distant sky, his mood seemingly quite good. It's time to go. I'll take you to the believers' headquarters. If we stay any longer, those annoying people will come after us again. Yes. Shin Qingzhu responded respectfully. Murmur turned around as an illusory door appeared before him. He leisurely stepped through it and vanished. Shin Qingzhu watched Murmur's disappearing figure, the corners of his mouth curving slightly upward. Idiot. Shin Qingzhu lowered his head, reaching toward his chest. There lay a circle of broken jade pieces. He had gambled correctly. The heaven-returning jade had successfully blocked Murmur's soul brand, meaning he had become the only person among all the believers who was free from Murmur's control. It seemed he owed that fat fool more and more favors. He looked back at the familiar mountain, his gaze seeming to pierce through endless layers of earth to fall upon the shining insignia at the bottom. Goodbye, Night Watchman, he murmured. He stepped forward. At the same time, a cocoon beside his foot suddenly burst open. A pair of beautiful wings struggled out of the broken shell, fluttering unsteadily as it flew into the distance. Shin Qingzhu stood transfixed watching this scene. After a long while he smiled and shook his head, stepping toward the illusory door. The wind carried his voice as it drifted. Growth, huh? The endless darkness gradually receded as control returned to his body. In his dreams, Lin Chia slowly opened his eyes. White ceiling, pristine hospital bed, light yellow floor. The white gauze curtains floated gently in the wind through the open window, beyond which lay the familiar training ground. This was the infirmary? Lin Chia tried to sit up, but weakness permeated his entire being from his very soul. His exhausted body felt as heavy as if it were filled with lead. Every wound on his body had been carefully bandaged. Looking at his blue and white hospital gown, Lin Chia smiled bitterly. Even the academy director has his day to wear a hospital gown. He managed to sit up with difficulty, put on slippers and stumbled toward the door. As soon as he opened it, he heard Bailey Pang Pang shouting from next door. Impossible. He can't be dead. I gave him the heaven-returning jade. Even if the king of hell himself came, he couldn't possibly die. Lin Chia froze, confusion appearing in his eyes. Who died? He instinctively quickened his pace toward the neighboring ward. His legs suddenly gave out and he nearly fell to the ground. Lin Chia. Instructor Han Li saw Lin Chia appear in the doorway and exclaimed, hurrying forward to support him. Lin Chia steadied himself against the doorframe, waving his hand to indicate he was fine. He saw Bailey Pang Pang wearing the same style hospital gown, his head thickly wrapped in bandages like a bobblehead doll, sitting on the bed. 7 Night. You're awake. Bailey Pang Pang exclaimed in delight upon seeing Lin Chia. What happened? Who died? Lin Chia frowned as he asked. Instructor Han Li and Bailey Pang Pang both fell silent. It's Xin Qingzhu. Instructor Han Li slowly spoke. To save Instructor Hong and Bailey Pang Pang, he took the instructor's insignia and jumped into the burning cave. He's not dead. Bailey Pang Pang spoke up again, looking earnestly into Lin Chia's eyes and firmly saying, 7 Night. Believe me. He's not dead. Even if he was burned and crushed under rocks, he wouldn't die. He must be trapped somewhere underground. I need to find him, I need to dig him out. Bailey Pang Pang anxiously got out of bed, not even putting on slippers as he hurried toward the door. Chapter 211, Reality. Bailey Timing, calm down. Instructor Han Li supported Bailey Pang Pang and spoke helplessly. After we left Jinan Mountain, the logistics cleanup team had gone to the mountain and down to your cave. With their Earth-based boundary force abilities, they thoroughly searched the entire underground ruins. They found the bodies of 2 buried Chuan border cultists, found Instructor Hong's used emblem, but in the core cave chamber, they only found large chunks of charred remains. Through DNA testing, some of those charred remains were from the high border cultist Ma Yitian and some were from Xin Qingzhu. Bailey Pang Pang opened his mouth, his face turning pale. But you didn't find his body, right? So, that cave chamber was filled with flames and magma. It would have been impossible for any body to remain intact. Instructor Han Li shook his head. Bailey Pang Pang frowned deeply, lowering his head in deep thought. Suddenly he raised his head again. No, if he had drained all the air from the cave before the flames completely charred his body, extinguishing the fire, he could have actually survived. Bailey Tuming. Instructor Han Li grabbed his shoulders, eyes wide, speaking each word deliberately. The return to heaven jade isn't some miracle medicine. Can only keep someone on the brink of death alive. For those who are already dead, it's powerless. Even if everything happened as you said and he survived by draining the air, then why didn't the cleanup team find his body? That was 2 kilometers underground. How could a dying person climb back to the surface? Hearing these words, Bailey Pang Pang's lips began to tremble. He opened his mouth as if wanting to argue further but couldn't say a word. Instructor Han Li was right. None of this made sense. Xin Qingzhu's death isn't just painful for you alone. Do you think we instructors feel good watching our own soldiers die before our eyes? Han Li's eyes were red as he pointed at the camp outside, shouting, but this isn't some fantasy Mary Sue story, not some invincible face-slapping novel. You can't reject and ignore reality just because you want to see something different. This is what being a night watchman means. This is what being a soldier means. Sacrifice happens all the time. I bet among you new recruits about to leave this training camp, less than a third will still be alive in 10 years. This isn't just me talking. This is the bloody reality happening right in front of us. But at the very least, we should let those who sacrifice themselves leave with dignity and honor. Not like now, where we don't even have the courage to face reality. Instructor Han Li's voice echoed throughout the hospital room. Bailey Pang Pang kept his head down, his eyes full of confusion, remaining silent. Lin Chia slowly walked forward, patted Bailey Pang Pang's shoulder, and turned to Instructor Han Li. Instructor, leave this to me. Instructor Han Li calmed himself down, nodded and spoke as gently as possible. Get some good rest. Tomorrow morning is the oath ceremony. After that you'll be leaving. He sighed and walked out of the hospital room. Lin Chia slowly sat down in a nearby chair. His physical condition still wouldn't allow him to stand for too long. He looked at the dazed Bailey Pang Pang before him and spoke softly. So, can you tell me what exactly happened back then? Bailey Pang Pang scratched his head dejectedly. What happened then? I'm not very clear either. I was knocked unconscious, but later Instructor Hong told me that at the time. After hearing Bailey Pang Pang's account, Lin Chia also fell silent. Taking the instructor's emblem single-handedly killing Ma Yitian falling into the flames. Although Shin Qingzhu doing such things seemed unexpected at first glance, thinking carefully he was exactly the type of person who would do such things. Did that Shin Qingzhu really die just like that? For some reason Lin Chia's heart felt a sense of unreality. Just then Bailey Pang Pang seemed to remember something. Chia, I discussed with Instructor Hong and decided to keep secret about you turning into a woman. We should coordinate our story so we don't. Wait, hold on. Lin Chia spoke with an odd expression. Me turning into a woman? What kind of strange statement is that? But you really did transform. Your hair grew longer, your skin became more delicate, you became fairer, and even your Adam's apple seemed. Let's just talk about coordinating our story. Lin Chia felt helpless. The changes to his body were just temporary transformations caused by bearing Nix's soul. He hadn't actually turned into a woman. His appearance had just become somewhat more feminine. Physiologically speaking, he was still a man. But the way Bailey Pang Pang described it made it sound like he had become a transsexual. There was no way to explain this to Bailey Pang Pang, so he could only vaguely brush it aside. Thud. Outside the hospital room, Chow Yuan, carrying a basket of fruit, stared with wide eyes as the basket fell from his hand. What? Chia can turn into a woman? He exclaimed in shock. Lin Chia helplessly held his forehead. Late night. The training camp was far from the city, so there was less pollution. Looking up at the sky, one could still see stars twinkling in the night sky, vast and magnificent. At this time, on the roof of the medical building, 3 figures were gathered around a small campfire, with the aroma of grilled meat wafting through the air. Bailey Pang Pang took a bite of his skewer and spoke uncertainly. Are we really not going to get punished for doing this? If we do, we do. It's the last day anyway. Being made to run laps around the training ground until dawn doesn't sound too bad. Chow Yuan said carelessly. Maybe not for you, but we're still patients. Running all night. Are you trying to kill us? Bailey Pang Pang grimaced. Being patients means we won't get punished too badly, at most just a scolding. Chow Yuan turned his head to look at Lin Chia seriously. Chia, really, you won't transform into a woman just once to let me see? Get lost. Oh. Bailey Pang Pang finished the skewer in his hand, looked up at the starry sky and let out a long sigh. Before, when I was still living as a young master in my hometown in Guangshan, I saw a few night watchmen. Back then I just thought they looked cool, so I applied to my old man to become a night watchman for fun. But I never understood what becoming a night watchman really meant. Lin Chia glanced at him. And now, Bailey Pang Pang paused, then spoke slowly. I think I understand a little bit. Chapter 212, Farewell. The more one understands, the heavier the burden feels. Bailey Pang Pang sighed, then shook his head self-mockingly. Who would have thought that I, the young master of the Bailey family, would one day become a night watchman? Technically, you're not a night watchman yet. The oath ceremony starts tomorrow, Chow Yuan corrected. How dare you, Chow Yuan? I'm sick right now and you're still picking on me? Don't you have a conscience? No. Bailey Pang Pang rolled up his sleeves, looking like he wanted to fight Chow Yuan. Lin Chi smiled and said, Pang Pang, you should cherish this opportunity now. After all, after tomorrow no one will be able to pick on you anymore. Hearing these words, both Chow Yuan and Bailey Pang Pang were stunned and fell silent. After a moment of silence, Lin Chi looked at Bailey Pang Pang and asked, After returning to Guangshan, what do you plan to do? Go home? Or join the night watchman? Without hesitation, Bailey Pang Pang replied, Join the night watchman. Chow Yuan raised an eyebrow. What about your maid sisters? I'll keep them, Bailey Pang Pang said righteously. When the organization needs me, I'll be a night watchman anytime. When the organization is idle. I'll still be the handsome little brother to my maid sisters, hee hee. Chao Yuan rolled his eyes and turned to Lin Qiyi. I'm in Huaihai City, which is quite close to Tsangnan. You can come visit me when you're free. Lin Qiyi nodded. 7 I say, you should just form a special team, Bai Li Pang Pang grinned. Lin Qiyi was surprised. A special team? Yeah. Think about it, you're a dual god proxy, so being a special team captain shouldn't be a problem, right? Once you become captain, you can form a team and then bring us all in. Wouldn't we all be together again? Bai Li Pang Pang grew more excited as he spoke. You're a dual god proxy, I'm the young master of the Bai Li family, a collector of forbidden items. Wouldn't I make a worthy special team member? And although this fool Chao Yuan doesn't get along with me, his forbidden domain is super high risk among super high risks. First under the divine domain. Wouldn't he make a good special team member? It's a pity about Cool Bro. Otherwise, the 4 of us together would make the strongest special team. 4 people isn't enough for a special team, Chao Yuan shook his head. Hey, the world is so big, there must be others who share our temperament and have strong abilities, right? If worst comes to worst, we could bring Molly in. I object to office romance. Chao Yuan raised his hand. I second that. Lin Qiyi quickly raised his hand too. Alright, then no Molly. Well, finding members isn't the problem, there will be a way. Lin Qiyi stared at the bonfire before him, memories of the mask team flashing through his mind, them gathering around a dining table, laughing and arguing, them silently shouldering their sword cases, facing the abyss and hell together. Perhaps it wasn't such a bad idea? It's too early to form a special team. Have you ever seen a special team with a pool-level rookie as captain? Lin Qiyi shook his head. Besides, this has to be decided by the Night Watchman's higher-ups. We don't have a say in it. That's true. Bai Li Pang Pang sighed, then looked at Lin Qiyi seriously. But when you do get the chance to form a special team, you must come find me in Guangshan. Chao Yuan quickly added, and me too, I'll be waiting for you in Huaihai City. Looking at their solemn expressions, Lin Qiyi nodded firmly. If that day comes, I definitely will. Under the bright sky, the rich aroma of meat drifted in the wind as the 3 young men sat together, their voices echoing across the rooftop. Not just in the infirmary, such scenes were secretly playing out in every corner of the training camp. Today no instructor came to stop them. The next morning, unusually, Bai Li Pang Pang didn't sleep in but got up early to wash up, make his bed, pack his belongings and meticulously button up his military uniform in front of the mirror. 7 How do I look? He turned around to face Lin Qiyi, who was already fully dressed. Very formal, very spirited. Lin Qiyi examined him carefully and nodded seriously. Bai Li Pang Pang smiled and glanced at the time on the wall. It's about time to go. Lin Qiyi raised his eyebrows in surprise. There's still half an hour until the ceremony begins. Going now. Better early than late. All right. The 2 walked out of the dormitory and headed straight to the training ground. When they arrived, Lin Qiyi found that half of the new recruits were already there. They were solemnly dressed in their military uniforms, talking among themselves on the training ground, their faces showing both dignity and barely contained excitement. They had been in the training camp for a year now. During this year they had endured hardships, complained of exhaustion, thought about giving up, but they had ultimately persevered and transformed themselves. Now they were facing the most glorious and important moment of this year. Time passed minute by minute, and soon it was time for the oath ceremony to begin. The instructors walked onto the martial arts platform one by one, and the excited recruits immediately fell silent. Yuan Gang's gaze swept across everyone as he calmly spoke. Before the oath ceremony begins, there is one more thing. Everyone was startled, and then several instructors came forward with black boxes. Yuan Gang continued. In this rescue operation your performance was excellent. In the face of great disaster, you truly displayed the glory of our great Xia soldiers, our night watchmen. Therefore, we award a Spark Medal to every new recruit who participated in the rescue operation. The crowd's eyes immediately lit up, their expressions full of joy. And in this rescue operation we lost 2 warriors, one of whom chose to sacrifice his life to protect the lives of his comrades and instructors. His name was Xin Qingzhu. Hearing these 3 words, everyone fell silent. He was the troublemaker of the training camp, but he was a hero of the Night Watchman. Here we posthumously award Xin Qingzhu the Starlight Medal. As the words fell, all the instructors on the platform simultaneously raised their right hands in a standard military salute. At the same time, all the new recruits below also raised their hands, solemnly giving the military salute. The instructors distributed medals to everyone, while Shin Qingzhu's medal was solemnly kept by Instructor Hong. This medal would be buried in the night watchman's tomb along with his cloak, straight sword and emblem. Below the platform, Li Liang and Deng Wei's eyes were bloodshot, their bodies slightly trembling as they looked at the shining medal and clenched their fists. Brother Shin, rest in peace. Chapter 213, The Oath and Departure. After all the medals were distributed, it was time to hand out the exclusive equipment for each night watchman. Jing Zhong, Emo Lan, Li Shaoguang, Chao Yuan. On the training platform, several instructors stood in front of sealed metal boxes, calling out names from a list. Those whose names were called went up in order to receive their equipment. Bai Li Tuming, Lin Qiyi. When Lin Qiye's name was called, he immediately stepped forward to collect his equipment. As expected, it was the standard night watchman's three-piece set: the star blade, the cloak and the emblem. After receiving the equipment, Lin Qiyi, like everyone else, first put on the cloak. Made of unknown material, the dark red cloak was soft and comfortable, feeling weightless when worn and fit perfectly. Next he gripped the handle of the star blade. The familiar feel and weight were no different from the other standard blades he had used before. The only difference was that the straight blade had Lin Qiyi engraved on it. Lin Qiyi used dual blades, but he hadn't applied for another blade because at his home, there was already another one, the one with Zhao Kongqing engraved on it. Finally there was the emblem. The heavy feel, the crossed blades, the starry background. After carefully examining it, Lin Qiyi turned it over and found his name engraved below the familiar 4 lines. This was proof of his identity as a night watchman. After everyone had received their equipment, Yuan Gang, standing on the platform, slowly spoke. I believe you all know these 3 items are our standard night watchman equipment, but few of you may know what they represent. The straight blade, cloak and emblem. Why these 3? Why not add boots, gloves, hats or other items? Because these are the most special. The straight blade, also known as the star blade, is forged from an extremely mysterious material. Some say it's meteorite iron, others say it's mutated iron or from the mist, and some claim it's divine metal from the Great Xia's treasury. I don't know, and no one in Great Xia knows except for those who forge these blades. Its origin isn't important. What matters is that it will never break, rust, melt or freeze. No external force can break its internal structure. From the moment they are forged, they are eternally fixed in this shape, including your names engraved on them. It is your absolutely trustworthy blade of attack. The cloak is made from top-tier nanotechnology materials. While ensuring comfort, it can effectively resist cold, heat, moisture, bacteria, and other harsh environments. It's like an all-purpose protective suit, helping you isolate from external influences during battle. But it isn't indestructible. It's just a cloak, not armor. If the cloak is damaged in battle, you can request to send it back to headquarters, where specialists will repair it and return it to you the next day. It is your shield of defense, helping you adapt to various environments. As for the emblem, it has only one purpose: mutual destruction. It can temporarily unleash all of one's potential. Those without interdiction will gain it, those with it will advance in level. It gives you a possibility, a chance to fight to the death, maintain dignity, and create an opportunity for your teammates to survive. It is the faith that defends the dignity of your death. Yuan Gang took a deep breath and continued slowly. The blade of attack, the shield of protection, and a dignified way to die. This is the best we can give you. The recruits, no, the new generation of night watchmen, looked down at their equipment in silence. 3 pieces of equipment, neither too many nor too few, but they carried the continuation and prosperity of a nation. Yuan Gang stood straight, looking at the sea of dark red below the platform, and solemnly announced, "Let the oath ceremony begin." Whoosh! A gust of wind blew past, and the red flag on the training platform's flagpole fluttered loudly. The entire venue fell silent. Yuan Gang clenched the emblem in his right hand, placing it over his heart, his left hand resting on the handle of his blade. His deep, majestic voice echoed throughout the training ground. I Yuan Gang swear under the red flag of Great Xia. Everyone simultaneously gripped their emblems in their right hands, placed them on their chests, left hands on their blade handles and spoke with overwhelming momentum. I Wang Li. I Li Shaoguang. I Wen Qing Qing. I Deng Wei. I Li Liang. I Chao Yuan. I Bai Li Tu Ming. I Lin Qiyi. Finally, all voices merged into one. Swear under the red flag of Great Xia. Yuan Gang continued. If darkness descends. If darkness descends. I shall stand before the masses. I shall stand before the masses. Blade towards the abyss. Blade towards the abyss. Blood stains the sky. Blood stains the sky. They clenched their fists tightly, their eyes showing excitement, determination and strength. These 4 lines would be forever engraved in their hearts, just as they were engraved on their blades. The young silkworms had finally emerged from their cocoons. From this moment on they were night watchmen. Perhaps growing up was just that simple. I'm leaving. I'm going too. I'm off as well. Take care, you must come visit me. Ha, don't worry, I'll treat you to drinks then. Old Wang. Don't die. You hear me? Damn it, I'm tougher than you, how could I die so easily? When I become a captain in a couple of years, I'll treat you to drinks. In the dormitory building, familiar figures dragged their luggage, holding back their reluctance to part, exchanging playful banter and farewells. This one-year gathering had finally come to its end. Qi, I'm leaving. Outside the door, Chao Yuan pulled his suitcase, looking solemnly at Lin Qiyi. Remember to visit me in Huaihai City. Lin Qiyi smiled. Don't worry, take care on your journey. Qi, I'm leaving too. Don't miss me too much without me sleeping with you. Bai Li Fatty said with red-rimmed eyes, followed by several bodyguards carrying his luggage. Don't say things that are so easily misunderstood. Lin Qiyi sighed helplessly. After you return to Guangshan, don't be too indulgent, or you might get in trouble during battles. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Bai Li Fatty patted his chest. You must come visit me in Guangshan. Just one phone call and I'll arrange everything for you. Private jet, 5-star hotel, beautiful ladies, guaranteed. Lin Qiyi responded with a mix of laughter and tears. All right, I'll visit. Bai Li Fatty, accompanied by his bodyguards, kept looking back as he walked away. Then, as if remembering something, he called out to Lin Qiyi from afar. Oh right, I left your stuff under the bed, don't forget to take it. Lin Qiyi was stunned. After Bai Li Fatty had gone, he returned to the dormitory and retrieved a large gift box from under the bed. A box full of Rolex watches. This guy. Lin Qiyi cursed with a smile and after some hesitation, carefully packed it into his suitcase. He stood up, took one last look at the dormitory and walked out pulling his pink Peppa Pig suitcase. Gradually, fewer and fewer people left the training camp, and the dormitory building became increasingly empty. Before long, the entire training camp had fallen into silence. The golden sunset light fell on the training ground, and the empty training camp exuded a faint melancholy. The dormitory building, cafeteria, shooting range, training ground. The familiar buildings gradually receded behind him and soon, Lin Qiyi found himself back at the large iron gate with his suitcase. He looked up at the characters on the iron gate, memories of his first time entering through this gate flooding back. Time to go, he murmured, pulling his suitcase through the gate. This was training base 039 where he had spent a year. He was its first recruit. He was the last night watchman to leave.